It's been about 10 years since the last game in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series was released. In that time, the franchise kind of just disappeared, which is a shame because it was a very popular series. Unfortunately, in 2019, fans only have 2 games in the series. 4 if you want to include the X-Men Legends games. Since then, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 have been re-released for the PS4 and the Xbox One. Sometimes, due to the licensing agreements between Marvel and Activision, the games will appear and then disappear on digital marketplaces all the time. At the time of this recording, you cannot buy Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 on either Xbox Live or PSN. But that doesn't really matter anymore because we finally have a brand new entry in this series, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. Not only is this a Switch exclusive, but it's also a first-party title being published by Nintendo and developed by Team Ninja. So after a decade away, does the new Marvel Ultimate Alliance live up to its predecessors? Does it surpass them? Or is it stuck in the past to its detriment? Well, let's take a look and find out. Hopefully, certain people don't realize I'm doing a Switch video. Let's just get the basics out of the way first. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order is an action-adventure, role-playing, hack-and-slash beat-em-up for up to 4 players simultaneously. The game is actually set in a brand new universe, a different continuity from the original games, but fans of the series should recognize a lot of elements in this game. Most of your favorite characters are back, along with some new ones who have become popular over the years, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, Miles Morales, Ms. Marvel. In terms of story, the game is actually a loose adaptation of the Infinity Gauntlet saga, because of course it is. What else are they going to base it on in 2019? Gameplay-wise, Ultimate Alliance 3 is very similar to its predecessors, with a lot of modern twists and flourishes. Players select up to 4 characters to control on screen at one time to explore levels, beat up bad guys, and ultimately stop Thanos from collecting the Infinity Stones. Now, I'm not going to do a full review of the game. I'm actually not that far into it, and it's surprisingly deep. This game has a lot of features that I've barely scratched the surface of beyond the regular gameplay. But I can tell you that what I have played, I really like. Team Ninja has done a great job of maintaining the spirit and mentality of the series while giving it its own unique touches and making it its own thing. The levels are all varied with a wide array of bad guys to fight, unique boss battles, and even some puzzle solving sections that are challenging but not really frustrating. The characters all play similarly, but they all feel different. They all have your basic light and heavy attacks, but Captain America's heavy attack works differently from, say, Thor's heavy attack. So knowing when to use which person's moves for any scenario is extremely important, especially with regards to the superpower moves. Each character has their own unique set of special abilities, synergy attacks, and EX attacks, and knowing when to use which one can be extremely important in battle. Something like, say, Ms. Marvel's Embiggen power will work in certain cases where Storm's Lightning Strike will not. But that's the cool thing about this game. Again, you get 4 characters to play as at any given time. So if you're playing as one character and they're not working in that particular situation, with a press of the D-pad, you just switch over to another one and continue from there. Plus, there are shield portals scattered throughout the game world where you can easily go in and swap out different teammates to put into your active roster. You even get special bonuses and buffs when you combine certain characters together. For example, the team of Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk gives you the original Avengers bonus. But that said, there really is no one perfect team. In all honesty, the perfect team is the one that you come up with. Yeah, that sounds like a tagline, but it's true. I will say though that this is mostly a melee combat experience, and for the most part that's fine. Most of the characters are primarily melee combat people, but certain characters like Star-Lord and Groot, their primary attack is a ranged attack, a shooting attack. And that doesn't really come in handy as often as punching and kicking does. I'm not saying not to put characters like that on your team. If you want to put them on your team, go right ahead. I'm just saying that in my experience, I found that punching was better than shooting. Some characters even do both, so put them on your team. But really, you should probably always have Wolverine on your active team. He's pretty much the best character in the game. Does everything you need him to. Now, before we move on, let me just reiterate that I do, in fact, really like this game. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's filled with great fan service. I think the characters are all represented really well. Basically, this is a Marvel fan's dream. If you're a fan of Marvel in any capacity, you're going to find something to like about this. But that being said, I think it's important to state that this game is not the next Insomniac Spider-Man or even the next Arkham game. There is a lot actually holding Ultimate Alliance 3 back from being truly great. I mentioned it earlier, but this game is pretty deep. It is, after all, an RPG, and like most RPGs, leveling up and character progression is an important part of the core gameplay. The problem is that your characters don't necessarily level up at the same pace as the game's story progresses. Because you have all of these different characters, you're naturally going to want to try and level them all up at once, but you can't really do that within the confines of the game's chapters. For example, by the time I got to the Xavier Institute chapter, most of my characters were around level 15 or below, and the Xavier Institute is a level 20 chapter, so clearly I did something wrong and there's going to be some excessive grinding in my near future. And while the game does allow you to swap out characters at shield points, it doesn't necessarily encourage you to do that. The best strategy, at least the best strategy I found, is to pick one core team and stick with them throughout the entirety of the game. This way they all level up at the same pace, rather than swapping out characters one by one and trying them out here and there where they don't level up really at all. There is a way to quickly level up your characters through the items you collect in the game, but in order to do that, you have to navigate through the game's pause menu, and there's a lot to navigate in there. So really, leveling up via gameplay is the easiest way to do it. What else? Well, back when I previewed this game at E3, I mentioned in my video that it had a tendency to get a bit chaotic. A lot of happens on screen at once. Now that the game is finally out, I can safely say that not only is this still a case, but it might actually be a little bit worse. It feels like a lot more is happening on screen. Enemies will come at you from every which way, and you will lose your character on screen, and you will miss your intended targets. The camera does not help this. It often pulls very far back so that your character is a dot amongst the sea of other dots. Or it will move itself into a position that doesn't help in the slightest. You can switch from the classic style camera to a more heroic camera, which is basically just a traditional third-person view. But this doesn't help either, and it often just makes things much worse. The camera issue really isn't that big of a problem in online multiplayer though, where everyone's camera will primarily focus on just them and not their teammates. But local multiplayer can be a bit of a pain in the ass. And the superpower moves don't really help to make things any less chaotic. They look really cool, sure, and they deal a lot of damage, so they're perfect in a pinch, but oftentimes I'll find myself in a boss fight trying to pull off an EX attack to deal a lot of damage, only for him to move, and I won't notice it because there's a fireworks show going on. And things don't get any less confusing with regards to the special abilities and the synergy attacks. To pull off a special ability, all you have to do is hold down the R button and then press one of the corresponding face buttons that pops up on screen. To do a synergy attack, you hold down ZR and then again a corresponding face button that pops up on screen. On the surface, these two moves look basically identical. The twist is that the synergy attacks are intended to be used in tandem with another character's synergy attack. And that sounds really cool, but not every character is compatible with every other character. You could very well wind up in a situation where you have an entire team of superheroes that aren't compatible with each other. And even if you can pull one off, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will. Your teammates will probably miss their cue whether or not they're AI controlled or human controlled, and if one of your teammates wants to do a synergy attack with you, you'll likely miss your cue because the button prompt is not only different, but when it appears on screen, it will then disappear very quickly. I say all this because the game actually does not do a very good job of explaining the synergy attacks to you all that well. They give you the briefest of pop-up in the beginning of the game, and that's about it. And that sucks because these moves can come very much in handy. If it at all sounds like I'm being too harsh on this game, I really don't mean to be. Like I said before, I like it a lot. I give it a solid, let's say 7. But I think it's important to talk about the flaws in a game like this to temper expectations. It's a good return for the series after such a long time away, but it's not that grand reintroduction that completely reinvents the wheel and changes everything. More or less, this is a solid game that would have been more at home back in 2009 when the second game came out, rather than a modern game for a 2019 audience. And plus, it is, after all, a hack and slash beat 'em up at its core. Those games are notorious for getting repetitive and monotonous, and that turns a lot of people off. You might be one of those people. The flaws of the game that I mentioned before might not be big deals to you, or they could be deal breakers. But if you can look past the flaws, there is a lot to like about this game, especially if you're a fan of Marvel, be it the characters, the comics, the movies, whatever, or if you're a fan of beat 'em ups. The genre, not Bob's Doppelganger. I have no idea what the hell he thinks of this. Hopefully this game does well enough to warrant sequels where they can iron out all the issues and keep the franchise going and make it the truly great gaming experience that it really should be. Because at the end of the day, despite all of its flaws, it's not a perfect game, but Ultimate Alliance 3 is a damn fun experience, especially if you have friends with Switch Online accounts. This is a really good co-op experience. Recommended. Like I said, 7. That's good. If you're a fan of Marvel or if you're a fan of action RPGs, then Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 might just be the game for you. It won't blow you away, but you will be entertained by it. Unless, of course, you really don't like Marvel at all, in which case, stop watching this video. Go play Zelda or something. And we've reached the part of the video where I ask you what you think of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. Did you play it? Did you enjoy it? Or did you find its flaws too much to overcome? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. Also, let me know your team. Let me know who your main characters are. This is the setup I've currently landed on, although I keep switching out for like Captain Marvel, she's really good, and Hulk is also good. But you always gotta have Wolverine on there. Of course, don't forget that we have new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that. Like this video and share it with a friend who's on the fence about whether or not to get Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order. Show them this video and hopefully it will sway them to go one way or the other. You could show them something from IGN or GameSpot or something like that, but you're not gonna do that. You're gonna support small business. There's really only 2 of us here. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.
Will made another Switch video.